Hi everyone, I hope that you are doing really great today. So in this video basically we are going to discuss a very important case from an Indian fixed income market. So what happened in 2024 is that the IndusInd Bank exercised a call option of its AT1 bonds. So after this news, it grabbed the attention among the global investors because they were really nervous about the AT1 bonds, especially after the Credit Suisse incident. So when the so basically what is the AT1 bonds is that it's a kind of a capital that a banks can be raised under the Basel III rules. The AT1 bonds doesn't have a maturity date. They can but usually been called upon called after the 5 years. In most of the cases, investors expect banks to repay them on the call date. So when IndusInd Banks exercised the call option, it brought a strong signal in the market that the banks actually values the investors and also brought a stability. So this decision is really important and matters to the investors. So for the further concepts and more dive deep into this case, the so now the Maitri will explain you from an investor point of view and also will break down the concepts of this case further.
From an investor's perspective, the case mainly revolves around two important concepts: yield to call and extension risk. Yield to call refers to the return an investor expects if the bank repays the AT1 bonds on the call date. Since AT1 bonds usually have higher yields, investors often buy them, assuming that the bank will exercise the call option after 5 years. However, there is an extension risk also. The risk that the bank may choose not to repay the bond on the call date and keep it outstanding. If this happens, investor may have to hold the bond for a much longer period and market value of the bond may also fall. After recent global concerns around AT1 bonds, investors become more cautious about the risk. By exercising the call option, IndusInd Bank reduced extension risk and reassured the investors that the exceptions would be met. So, by exercising the call, the bank clearly confirms that what investors were expecting. To make this easier to understand, now Manu will walk us through a simple visuals and evidence behind the decisions.
To explain this more clearly, we have created a simple visual flow diagram. This diagram explains the journey of the additional Tier 1 bond, starting from its issuance, moving to the investor's expectations of a call option, then the bank exercising the call, and finally its impact on the overall market confidence. This decision was taken during a period of global uncertainty in the AT1 bonds market, especially after the Credit Suisse incident, and it helped in stabilizing the investors' sentiments. According to the Reserve Banks of India's Basel III framework, AT1 bonds are important for maintaining banks' capital, but its effectiveness depends heavily on the investors' trust. Further, information from the IndusInd Bank's annual report and reports by Business Standard and Financial Express shows that this was a carefully considered decision aligned with maintaining confidence and stability in the Indian bond market. So overall, this decision helped in stabilizing investors' confidence during a difficult period. Now we'll see what this decision means from the bank's perspective and will conclude the case.
From the bank's point of view, exercising the call involved a trade off. Calling the bond increased short term cost because raising fresh capital in a cautious market is expensive. However, if the bank had not exercised the call, it could have damaged its reputation and increased future borrowing cost. For investors, this, this decision reduced uncertainty and strengthened confidence in Indian AT1 bonds. For the overall market, it supported stability and predictable behavior. The key learning from this case is that investors should look beyond high returns and consider risk like extension risk, while bank must protect their credibility. To conclude, this case clearly shows that In the fixed income market, trust and reputation are just as important as the capital. Thank you for watching.